Good evening. It's good to be with you. I'm Zinklea Asamoah in for Tom Llamas. We begin tonight with those massive waves pounding the west coast from San Diego up to San Francisco. Just take a look at this video. A rogue wave barreling past barriers, knocking people down as they try to flee. At least 8 people hurt. The water moving blocks into the community, submerging streets and sidewalks. In Pacifica, waves as high as 40 feet battering the coastline, knocking over groups of people standing near the surf. Onlookers in Santa Cruz lining up to watch the rough water, but authorities are warning people to stay away from the ocean. The barrage of water completely overtaking beaches in Ventura, pushing deep into neighborhoods, quickly flooding low-lying areas like this one, where residents could even paddleboard on the street. So let's get right to it with NBC's Steve Patterson, who leaves us off tonight in Southern California.
Tonight, terrifying, massive monster waves lashing the west coast. Look at the walls of water, some as high as 30 feet, exploding over seawalls, sparking widespread flooding, evacuations, and harrowing ocean rescues. The high surf causing at least 8 injuries in Ventura County, California alone, with crews racing to rescue 15 people swept into the sea.
This is supposed to protect us.
Colin Ho was there filming that heart-pounding moment.
People were running and screaming. It was like an apocalyptic movie. I mean, I saw people being dragged down the street in the mud.
The water leaving streets soaked, and the area's battered beaches shut down.
And crews now racing to build this massive, mile-long, 7-foot-high berm with the eye of the storm now focused on the north.
The waves, part of a storm system stirring up surf from the Bay Area all the way up to Washington. And in North Dakota, a state of emergency as freezing temperatures turn roads into rinks.
This is the street in front of my house. Look at him go.
Back in California, where the rough seas are a huge attraction for surfers, officials are worried.
We're asking people to stay away and stay out of the area for their safety and for ours.
A warning ahead of the next wave. Stay clear of the coast.
Steve Patterson joins me now from Ventura, California, right beside that seawall that was battered by the massive waves. Steve, the storm system is on the move, but still hitting the coast, right?
Yeah, Zinklea, we are definitely not out of the woods yet. With the storms could still bring surf and waves as tall as 30 feet along the coast in some places, making structures like this being put to the absolute test, the last line of defense between that dangerous surf and a community like this. Zinklea?
Steve Patterson in Ventura, California. Thank you. Tonight, cities around the world putting their final touches on New Year's Eve celebrations. And this year, many more adding even more security amid heightened terror threats around the world. Aaron McLaughlin has the details from New York's Times Square.
2, 1, Tonight, Times Square just about ready to ring in the new year. City officials insist security is all set to handle a crowd in the hundreds of thousands.
There are no specific threats to the city.
Even so, with thousands of officers deployed, they say they're expanding the zone to be blocked off.
We will be out here with our canines, our horsebacks, our drones, our helicopters, our boats.
This year's ball drop amidst increasing tension over the Israel-Hamas war. Protesters taking aim at New York's holiday season, having already interrupted the city's Christmas celebrations and Thanksgiving parade.
We're prepared for them at any number.
Tonight overseas, the FBI revealing they've arrested a man from New Jersey. Following the October 7th terror attack in Israel, they allege the 23-year-old tried to join a known foreign terror organization to attack the United States. This following last year's Times Square machete attack targeting 2 police on New Year's Eve. Tonight, law enforcement especially wary of the so-called lone wolf.
Someone that's sitting alone in their basement, watching videos, getting filled with hate, and just decides, today's the day I'm going to do something.
Across the country, in Las Vegas, a low-altitude helicopter buzzing over the Strip, checking for radioactive contamination. Tonight, America's largest cities taking no chances, with that delicate balance between security,
welcome 2024,
and celebration.
And Aaron McLaughlin joins me now from Times Square. Aaron, do we know of any planned protests expected in New York City on Sunday?
Today, there is a planned pro-Palestinian protest for Sunday afternoon, which is one of the reasons why officials have expanded that security zone. They want that expanded zone to create a kind of a buffer between any protests and that evening's celebrations. They also hope that it'll help them respond to any security incidents that might happen that night as well.
Aaron, clearly people are already gathered behind you. I know it's unseasonably warm right now, but for those heading to Times Square, should they be packing their parka or their raincoat?
Well, it's going to be around 40 degrees, so it's a little chilly. They'll have to wear a coat. Cloud cover is expected, though no rain, so some good news there, especially considering that for the celebrations, umbrellas are on the laundry list of items that are not allowed in this space. Clay.
We'll take some good news to end the year. Aaron McLaughlin, thank you. We head now to the southern border where a new legal battle is brewing between the federal government and Texas. The Department of Justice threatening to sue the state if Texas enforces a new law that will allow local authorities to arrest migrants. But it comes as thousands of migrants are making the treacherous and sometimes deadly journey up north. NBC's Morgan Chesky has this report.
Tonight, as thousands of migrants pursue their treacherous journey north, new dangers emerging at every turn. In central Mexico, a 5-year-old girl from Colombia losing her leg when she tried to board a moving train with her family and fell beneath one of its cars. Migrants who've been walking for days and weeks seen here desperately clinging on top of speeding trains, finding any means possible to carry on the perilous trek. This woman, bloodied and bruised, says she fell trying to get on a train with her family, traveling for the past 3 months.
Nos quedamos hasta este momento ya sin agua y de aquí no tenemos expectativa de cuánto saldremos porque con los sentimientos de todos los emigrantes juegan. Una cosa nos dicen ahorita, más tarde nos dicen otra, más adelante nos dejan tirados.
And this Venezuelan family mourning the loss of their father, who drowned in the Rio Grande just days before Christmas. The heartbreaking cries of his wife and sons after they witnessed the tragedy.
Mi niño me dice que necesita su papi, que necesita un abrazo de él.
Promising to keep traveling to the U.S. border in his honor.
Tenemos que seguir acá en este país porque eso era lo que él quería.
And for those who do survive, many have no place to sleep, as migrant camps such as this one in Matamoros get torn down and flattened to rubble.
Pero uno de los motivos por la que decidan que esté esa área despejada, pues para tener un mejor control y una mejor vigilancia del área.
With the cold winter months setting in, migrants huddling by makeshift bonfires to stay warm, preparing for yet another day of unforgiving desert terrain. And as the humanitarian toll grows, a new legal battle heating up between Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the federal government. The Department of Justice threatening to sue if Texas enforces a new controversial law known as SB 4, which gives state officials the ability to arrest and deport migrants on criminal charges on a state level. A law the DOJ says violates the U.S. Constitution. And tonight, in response to that threat from the Department of Justice, Texas Governor Greg Abbott posting the following to social media, saying the Biden administration not only refuses to enforce current U.S. immigration laws, they now want to stop Texas from enforcing laws against illegal immigration, going on to say that President Biden is destroying America. Again, this law wouldn't go into effect until March of 2024, but that deadline, January 3rd, just days away. This could be the latest element pitting Texas against the federal government yet again. Clay.
Morgan Chesky, thank you. Heading overseas now to the major attack in Ukraine. Russia launching more than 150 missiles, striking numerous buildings in Ukraine, including a school and hospital. At least 30 people killed, but dozens more hurt. Matt Bradley has the latest.
Tonight, Ukraine is reeling from what it says is Russia's biggest aerial attack yet. Ukraine's president saying 158 missiles and drones swarmed out across the country this morning, leaving dozens dead, more than 100 injured, and reminding Ukrainians that not even the holiday season is sacred. The joy of the holidays is what it is, said this woman in Kyiv. Joy on the face, but tears and pain inside. In Kharkiv, rescuers pulled an elderly man out from under rubble. He was alive. Russia announced today that it had launched one massive attack, striking military and industrial facilities and ammunition storage sites. But many of today's strikes hit civilian targets. An apartment building in Odessa, a huge shopping center in Dnipro, and a kitchen in Kyiv, fresh from holiday cooking. No one was killed or injured at this maternity hospital in Dnipro. These nurses said they were able to rush mothers and babies to a shelter. But as Russia's invasion approaches the 2-year mark, the U.S. Congress just sent its last $250 million to help Ukraine. Some Republican lawmakers have resisted giving more aid. The Biden administration today urged Congress to step up, as the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv warned Russia may increase its airstrikes over the New Year's holiday, heaping more nightmares on a holiday season already spoiled by war. Matt Bradley, NBC News.
Staying overseas now with the latest on the war in the Middle East. The United Nations now calling on Israel to cease what it called unlawful killings in the occupied West Bank, where hundreds of Palestinians have died. Some of those deaths happening at the hands of Israeli settlers. I want to bring in Jay Gray in Tel Aviv tonight. Jay, can you tell us more about just what's happening in the West Bank?
Yeah, and Sinclair, our team has spent some time in the West Bank this week. I can tell you that there is fear, there is tension there, and a lot of concern about what may be coming. The UN saying that the violence in Gaza is now, quote, spilling into the West Bank, and that this has been the deadliest year ever for Palestinians in that region. 130 kids have died in the West Bank. 124 of those Palestinians, 6 are Israeli children there. We know that we've seen tanks in Ramallah this week, something we haven't seen in a very long time. There are reports of IDF and settler violence against Palestinians every night, it seems, in the region. And again, a real concern for those who live there, who call the West Bank home, about what's going to happen as this war continues.
Yeah, and Jay, you talk about children. The generational effects of this war remain to be seen. And of course, Jay, last night we reported on this broadcast that warning from a senior Israeli official that fighting could escalate with Hezbollah in Lebanon. So what's the latest on the conflict there and in the region?
Yeah, the back and forth along the Lebanese border is continuing to escalate, and there is concern not only here in Israel, but globally that could eventually be a second front in this war. The IDF says over the last 2 days that they've carried out what they call widespread strikes using fighter jets, tanks, other equipment. We know that they are building up troops in that region. They said the strikes over the last couple of days have focused on Hezbollah rocket launch sites and other military facilities there. They also say that they are trying to push back some of the troops along the border with Lebanon.
And Jay, we're feeling these effects all across the globe. Another major headline tonight, South Africa has accused Israel now of genocide against Palestinians in Gaza in the International Court of Justice. How significant is a move like this?
Well, it depends on who you ask. The South Africans say that they have done this because they are, quote, gravely concerned about the plight of civilians in Gaza. The Israeli Foreign Ministry replying very quickly on social media, saying in part it, quote, rejects with disgust the filing and that the argument lacks a factual and legal basis, also calling it a vile and cheap exploitation of the court.
Jay Gray in Tel Aviv, thank you. And as the fighting rages on in Gaza, we want to focus our lens on an incredible story of survival. A father and daughter both dug out from the rubble following airstrikes, holding on to each other once again. NBC's Josh Letterman takes us there.
In the Gaza darkness, an airstrike has ripped through Rafah. Palestinians dig for survivors with their bare hands. And then, there, in the rubble, a child is found, just 10 months old, named Tala. She's covered by a mattress, unconscious, but breathing. They chant, "She's alive, she's alive." Her father, Ahmed, buried feet away, is freed. Seconds later, baby Tala is freed too. She clings to life, carried by a neighbor to the hospital. The child survives, but her mother, siblings, grandmother, and 3 uncles did not. The next morning, Ahmed has yet to see his daughter. Her cousin collects her from a nearby tent city. Her leg is broken, but she's okay. Where is your brother and sister, he says. A father and daughter now united in loss. He tells her, there's no one left for us. No one but each other. Josh Letterman, NBC News.
Sobering report still ahead tonight. The dangerous crash involving a Tesla Cybertruck. The truck colliding head-on with a Toyota. That car totaled, but the truck unscathed. What we know about the driver inside the Tesla. Plus, fired over porn, the head of a Wisconsin university terminated for making adult videos with his wife, how he's now fighting back. And the major consumer alert, nearly 5 million portable blenders recalled after reports of the blades breaking while in use and even catching fire. What you need to know, stay with us. We're back now with another freedom of speech issue on an American college campus, but this one is a little different. The head of a Wisconsin university was terminated for making adult videos with his wife, but now he's fighting back and speaking out to our Jesse Kirsch.
Good morning and welcome. At the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, Dr. Joe Gao led this commencement ceremony just days ago.
She's Carmen.
And he's Joe.
And we are
the Sexy Happy Couple.
And this is
Sexy Healthy Cooking.
But away from his day job as school chancellor, Gao was working on a different kind of video.
You have outdone yourself.
Gao and his wife, Carmen Wilson, star in their own pornographic videos on sites like Pornhub. He says in recent months they started publicly posting the adult videos, including this sexually explicit YouTube cooking show.
You have outdone yourself.
Well, thank you.
Really good.
And you outdid yourself yesterday as well.
Thank you.
Roughly a week ago, Gao says the universities of Wisconsin asked about his videos, and by Wednesday, he was abruptly terminated as chancellor after nearly 17 years of service.
There was no due process. I was never informed of any policy that I violated.
The university system has not specified why Gao was terminated, but the president writes in a statement, Gao subjected the university to significant reputational harm. His actions were abhorrent. Gao believes he was terminated because of his pornography and argues his university is not honoring freedom of expression.
There are the classical exceptions to the First Amendment, but having material that explores consensual adult sexuality, I mean, that shouldn't be. We should be able to talk about that on a college campus.
Is it fair to say, though, that you were held to a different standard as the leader of the university, as the face of the university in ways?
I'm not sure.
Some experts say legal precedent does not favor Gao.
There's a large zone of speech on matters of private concern that's protected in the sense that you can't go to jail for it or you can't be sued for it, but that the employer might still fire you.
An old debate getting a new look from a surprising perspective. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
And as Jesse Kirsch just mentioned, this is not the first time online adult content has impacted offline professional work. Earlier this month here on Top Story, we brought you the story of 2 Missouri teachers who left their jobs after their school district discovered their OnlyFans accounts. One of those former teachers forced to resign, Brianna Coppage, joins me now. Brianna, thank you so much for being with me. I do want to start with what happened back in October when your school district discovered your account. They initially placed you on leave, as I understand it. Walk me through your decision, though, to ultimately resign.
Yeah, so I was placed on leave and being investigated for having an OnlyFans account. Ultimately, I decided to resign for several reasons. One being I didn't think that after the media and the students finding my online profiles that it would be appropriate for me to go back into the classroom. And I don't think that I could have done my job effectively. It just wouldn't be the same. And I will say that students weren't the ones who found my account. They didn't find it until adults started posting it in a local community group. But after they did see it, I didn't necessarily feel like it was right to go back. And then I didn't necessarily want to sue the school district. It's a school district, a small school district that, you know, one of the lowest paying in Missouri.
Yeah.
And they probably don't. I didn't want to take more money from them and from the students. I didn't really feel like that was right. And then ultimately, I didn't need the money at the end of the day because I was getting so much support online.
And Brianna, I wanted to back up and ask, what led you to create an OnlyFans account? Where did the idea come from? Because I know in prior interviews, you've said you made close to $1 million on the platform.
Yes, that is true. Just what ultimately led me to creating the account was low teacher pay in the state of Missouri. We're one of the lowest in the nations. The district I was working for is also one of the lower paying districts in Missouri. And I have student loans. I have multiple degrees in education that I was paying for.
Yeah, I mean, we looked into those numbers, and Missouri teachers are some of the lowest paid in the country. And that statistic is according to the National Center for Education Statistics, right? That's a fact. And, you know, we just heard this story from the chancellor, also in education, though, of course, we don't know what his motive was. But I wonder, do you know of other teachers or people who have pursued the same path that you did?
Absolutely. I know a few personally, but I've also had lots and lots of people reach out to me on social media or on OnlyFans saying that they are pursuing some sort of adult content in private, but they are in the public eye or they are in education, and that they are afraid of being found out. So there's a lot more out there than just me.
What has life been like since you resigned?
It's been good. At first, it was a bit of a whirlwind, but it's been a lot easier because I have received so much support. So that has made my journey a lot easier. I will say, you know, my life is forever changed.
And it struck me that you mentioned these videos you say were initially found by adults, later by your students. Did you ever anticipate, though, that your students could have seen what you were doing online?
No, I think it would have been harder to connect that it was me. The only platform that I had of social media was Twitter, or now X. I was faceless on there. I had a different name. I edited out all of my tattoos. And you have to work pretty hard to find that side of Twitter. It's not easy for the average person with a Twitter account to just get into the 18 plus side of Twitter. You know, maybe they eventually would have, but I think it would have been hard to identify that it was me as well.
And was it always the plan for you? I know you mentioned student loans. Those are a reality for so many people. For you, was it a matter of paying those off and then you'd be done with OnlyFans?
Yeah, essentially, it was not my long-term plan by any means. I just wanted to make some extra money, help pay bills, help pay my student loans down. Like I said, I have multiple degrees. I have a master's degree in education, and I was also working on a specialist degree. And student loans aren't cheap.
And it also strikes me, when you were initially placed on leave, an official from your school district said that you may have posted inappropriate media on one or more internet sites. Of course, you did resign, but in your mind, should making adult content be a fireable offense?
I absolutely do not think so. I saw a lot of arguments saying, what about, you know, the moral clause that I signed? There is no moral clause. I did not sign anything. There was nothing in my handbook that said I could not do this. I think that it's a tough situation. And if employers are having us sign these sort of clauses and we agree to it beforehand, I guess we can be fired if we break it. But what if we aren't signing anything like that in the first place?
Brianna, I thank you so much for making the time to speak, especially with the circumstances. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, let's take a look at the legal repercussions of these cases. I'm joined now by NBC News legal analyst Angela Senadella. Angela, I want to zoom out, big picture here. I've done a lot of reporting on sex work this year. What does the law say about whether or not porn or adult content on OnlyFans is a fireable offense, either for public or private businesses?
Well, Zinkley, look, it would be so great and easy if there was just a giant list of fireable offenses in this country, and those are the only reasons you could be fired. But the reality is that this country has something called at-will employment. And so for the most part, employers can fire you for whatever reason they want without even telling you, so long as however they fire you is not based on a discriminatory reason. So with specific regards to OnlyFans or to online porn content, if they were, for example, firing someone who was of a minority or had a certain sexual orientation, but were not firing other people who are making that content, then that would be extremely problematic. But otherwise, for the most part, it is generally at the employer's discretion.
Angela, is there a case, though, for people who have been fired, like the chancellor at one of those Wisconsin universities, to take legal action against their former employer?
Well, there's always a chance. You should always consult a lawyer. But I will say with the chancellor in particular, I did review his contract because it is public. And for him, in Section 13, there is a morals clause, and it explicitly says the chancellor may not engage in any activity adverse to the interests of the Wisconsin system, shall not engage in any other occupation without prior consent of the university. So in a case like this, when you sign a contract and the employer then fires you for having violated that contract, you generally don't have a cause of action, even if it's protected speech, which is what he is claiming it is.
And I see two parts to what you just outlined, right? He needed to get permission from his employer, but you also cite a morals clause. I wonder, how does the law define morals? To some, sex work is not immoral.
You know, that's a fascinating question, Zinkley. Unfortunately, I think with circumstances like this, where you are in a public-facing profession, then the university or your employer often has great discretion to determine what that definition is, because the reason for these moral clauses are reputational harm. And that's what the university has said here, that they have experienced harm. Now, that is what could be litigated. You're right. He could absolutely attempt to litigate that definition.
So, Angela, briefly, what should people who may have a day job but are considering supplementing their income with online sex work consider before doing that?
Well, like a good lawyer, I will say you should always consult a lawyer. You should check your contract. You should check your employer handbook, anything you have ever signed, and see what is the industry standard. Have other people been fired for what you are attempting to do? That usually sets some sort of precedent and could be a good guideline for you, Clay.
Really fascinating stuff. Angela Senadella, thanks so much. And when we come back, a major blunder by Spirit Airlines. Have you heard about this? An unaccompanied 6-year-old supposed to fly to Fort Myers, Florida, but instead ended up about 160 miles away in Orlando. What the airline now says happened and the action they're taking against the gate agent involved. That's next. We're back now with Top Stories news feed and an update on a wild story you may have heard about. Spirit Airlines firing an employee who put an unaccompanied minor on the wrong flight. The 6-year-old was supposed to fly from Philadelphia to Fort Myers, Florida, but the airline says the gate agent brought the child to the wrong aircraft, which went to Orlando instead. The grandmother reportedly driving 4 hours to get him. Now the airline says they immediately launched an investigation and have apologized for the incident. Another alarming aviation headline, Boeing urging airlines to check 737 MAX planes over a possible loose bolt. The company recommending inspections after a missing bolt was discovered in the rudder control system during routine maintenance overseas. An undelivered plane also had the same issue. Now all the planes will undergo an inspection. This is the same aircraft that was grounded for more than a year after 2 deadly crashes in Asia and Africa. And we've got a consumer alert. BlendJet recalling nearly 5 million of its portable blenders over fire and safety concerns. The blenders were sold between 2020 and 2023 at major retailers, including Target and Walmart. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says they've received hundreds of reports of blades breaking while in use or the product catching fire. About 40 injuries were reported. Customers are now urged to stop using the product until a replacement is issued. Now to power and politics and the intensifying battle over whether former President Donald Trump should be on the ballot in 2024. Maine's top election official ruling that the former president is ineligible. The question now likely headed to the Supreme Court. NBC's Ryan Nobles has the latest.
For the second time in 2 weeks, a state has ruled that Donald Trump is ineligible to run for president of the United States.
It was not a close call on the question of whether January 6th, 2021 was an insurrection. The events of January 6, 2021 were unprecedented and tragic.
Sheena Bellows, the Secretary of State in Maine, a Democrat, determined that Trump's actions on January 6th constitute a violation of the 14th Amendment. The weight of the evidence makes clear that Mr. Trump was aware of the tinder laid by his multi-month effort to delegitimize a Democratic election and then chose to light a match, she wrote. The decision in Maine is similar to one in Colorado, and in both cases, the ruling won't go into effect until the appeals process is exhausted, meaning Trump will remain on the ballot for now. The Trump campaign promised to appeal and called the decision hyper-partisan. His GOP opponents agreed.
That turns on its head every notion of constitutional due process.
There are similar challenges playing out in states across the country. 4 other states, including Arizona, Minnesota, Michigan, and now California, have determined that Trump can stay on the ballot. Maine's Democratic Congressman Jared Golden, who voted to impeach Trump, argued removing him from the ballot is a mistake. Until he is actually found guilty of the crime of insurrection, he should be allowed on the ballot, he said in a statement. It also opens the door for the Trump campaign to raise money and fire up his base.
It makes him a martyr. You know, he's very good at playing poor me, poor me. He's always complaining.
The timing means that Trump will remain on the ballot for the primaries, but it is setting up a showdown in the U.S. Supreme Court, which will likely have the final say. Maine and Colorado hold their primaries on March 5th, which is Super Tuesday, meaning by the time the Supreme Court weighs in on this matter, it will likely impact the general election in November.
Well, that's it for me tonight, but stay right there. After the break, we've got a special New Year's message from your Tom Llamas.
Finally tonight, as we close out 2023, we want to thank you, our viewers, for tuning in every night. This year, we've covered everything from a major war to natural disasters, an upcoming election, and the top pop culture moments. We've been to the border, overseas, and across this country, and I'd personally like to thank the staff who makes the show happen day in and day out. Whether they're working here in 30 Rock or out in the field, editorial or technical, they are the ones who make it all possible. From all of us here at Top Story, Happy New Year.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.